for the best. You know, throw it on the deck and hope for the best. You want to transfer it to literally a bucket of lake water. So before you guys start dredging, or I mean, you can do it during or after they come up. If something's out in the air, if a meteorite, let's say you dredge up something like this size, right? If you leave it out of the water for 5 minutes, it's not the end of the world. These are strong enough where they're not gonna just like spontaneously crack on you necessarily. Although, you know, be careful handling them. You don't want to encourage it if that's going to happen. But as quickly as you can, put it into a bucket of water, and that keeps it in the same environment that it was in for these last year and a half, essentially. Because it's going to take. You can't just go straight to a dry environment and hope for the best. It's got to be a very gradual change. So when you first bring them up, put them into a bucket of water. The best thing to do will then be sealing it. With a lid. So if you buy a bunch of Home Depot buckets or something like that, you know, the snap lids that go on, those will be the best. Not only will that keep the environment contained, but it'll also prevent it, if they come in here, prevent it from getting in the rest of the conservation lab. Because although the meteorites that are coming up from the I'm going to call it a seabed because
sure,
the meteorites that are coming up from the seabed like the water for a little bit because they've been in there for a year and a half. Nothing else in this area likes water. Everything else down here is very anti-water. So we need to make sure that in addition to keeping the meteorites in an environment that's good for them, making sure that the environment does not escape into other parts that it's not good for.
I also think we're going to be on the boat. The boat is going to be rocking.
Yes.
You don't want to have an open bucket and knock them
falls
over.
over.
Yeah.
We're going to be bringing them home on the van, and you know, if Chris is driving, you know, there's a lot of stuff.
Or when you decide to take an exit ramp at full speed.
45, yeah.
Right.
I will also say, make sure there's no, to the best you can, you're not going to be able to filter out all organic materials. Make sure there's no fish in the barrel or anything like that. Larger stuff that you can maybe fish out. I don't know if, you guys have done more practice runs than I know about, I'm sure. But I don't know if it's practical to bring a strainer almost that you can kind of scoop in there and get any large plants or anything else that come up with seaweed or anything like that. That might be helpful.
Mussels.
Yeah.
Mussels,
Yeah, that would be pretty helpful. Yeah.
Carmen?
So I can imagine if you're just dragging the bucket alongside the boat to grab water without having more oxygen in it than if you just picked up like a thing of still water. Which one would be better to hold the meteorites, and do you think?
So eventually what we're going to end up doing is we're going to replace the lake water with distilled water. Maybe even deionized water. I actually have to do a little more research. I'm not 100% sure. But absolutely distilled water. It's essentially purified water, basically. And the lake water is not. So we're going to very gradually change that ratio of lake water to distilled water over time until it's 100% distilled water. And then we'll start drying it out from there. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
said still water, not distilled water. Like water that's just been sitting for a long time versus water that's been like stirred up has a lot of
I see what you're saying. Yeah, so water that's stirred up is going to have a lot more. I mean, you just see it if you go to the beach and you kind of run your hand along, you know, through the water and kind of stir it up a bit. It gets more particles in it, gets more oxygen in it. We're probably not talking. Well, it's a good question. We're probably not talking at levels that's something to worry about. Although obviously, less particles, less of anything in the water, the better.